Legacy Youth Group, what is up, man? How are you guys doing? How is the quarantine treating you guys? How are you guys managing? How's school online? I know that's fun. What are you guys doing with your spare time, your extra time? My name is Sam. For those of you who don't know me, if this was sent to you by somebody, or maybe you kind of got this link from somebody in Legacy, I just want to welcome you and say hello. Give you a little bit background on who I am. I'm Sam here. I'm the youth director here at LifeGate, and I oversee Legacy and all that ties into that. So just want to welcome you. We have been trapped in our houses if you live under a rock or don't listen to the law, right? So we have been stuck in the house for probably about 2 weeks now. And so that means you can't come to church, which ultimately means you can't come to youth group, which is a bummer. But I'm still here. I'm still going to give you guys a word here. And I feel like God's kind of beat me over the head with a good one this week. I think better than last week's, hopefully, for sure. But what we are, we're going to dive into the book of Mark here in a little bit. But I just want to give you guys kind of just some background, some update, some direction on how to kind of get the most out of this. So for starters, Legacy is still canceled. We'll hit the announcements. Legacy is still canceled. That is why you're going to be watching this video. I can't give you a date. I can't give you a week that we'll be back. We're kind of gauging it off of how the people in charge of the government and local authorities tell us, what we can and can't do. So we're still kind of in that funk of kind of getting stuck in the house and being quarantined. And, we're still doing church. That's my next announcement is church is still online. So the same way you're watching this, if you go to lifegateag.org, you'll be able to watch our sermons from Pastor Bob there. He's still recording them. He's still posting them. So we still want to be active. We still want to be engaged in the church, even though we can't meet in person. We still want to be, tied into the Word of God and tied into our church and bought in. So I encourage you guys to go watch that. Those are posted every Sunday. And those are good, man. Those are some good stuff he's talking about in there. I watch them, Sunday, after I sleep in a little bit. But they are some good stuff. So I encourage you guys to go there. Now on the topic of fine arts, if this applies to you, I don't know the status of fine arts. I was told it was postponed, and then I've seen it was canceled. So do not quote me. I don't know. I will get you guys an answer sooner rather than later, I promise. With this whole quarantine situation, fine arts is kind of taking the back burner in all of this. So if you are planning on participating, please continue to practice and continue to just challenge yourself and really kind of grow through this time. Because what happens is if there is fine arts, you're going to be behind the eight ball, and they're going to say, hey, I don't feel bad for you because you just had a month inside your house. You could have done it then. So if you want to be a part of fine arts, continue to hone your skills and practice and maybe set some stuff up. I will get you information on that. If you have questions about that, please text me in the group chat. I ask because other people in the group chat may have a question as well about it. So you may be answering somebody else's question by asking a question. And then lastly, summer camp is still on as of right now. And I understand the times that we're in. I understand financial situations, people not being able to work. I get that. Listen, you know your home, you know your situation, you know all that type of stuff. I'm not going to get into depth there. So if you need to start telling your parents about it now, please do. Please make sure you are aware of what's going on and don't lose track of time. I don't want to see you guys not be able to go to camp because you didn't ask months in advance. That's the worst excuse to not go to camp or not be allowed to go to camp. So you guys have the opportunity to change that. So please look into that. Please talk to your parents about it, and get back to me with any questions you have or any payments you have or whatever. So I'm just going to give you guys a quick update on my life. I've just been quarantining. I still do school online Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we've been using Zoom to do the school meetings and stuff like that. And, we may actually look into using Zoom 1 week for youth group. We just got it. So we're going to play it by ear and figure out what our best option is for you guys, what the easiest option is. So if Zoom is something you're interested in, just shoot me a text when you watch this, and we'll see what we can do and see if we can get you guys in a Zoom account and a meeting with us. But back to me, just quarantining, just hanging out, a lot of Xbox. I'm not a big TV show guy, but I had watched a TV show called The Tiger King. Some of you may have heard of it. Crazy story, crazy nonsense. A lot of hurt people in the show, I'll tell you that. Just been catching up on that and finished that last night. So really just kind of hanging out, being the same old me. I'm the type of guy that enjoys having to be in the house, because that means, I can play Xbox until my eyes burn out of my head, and I do that. So there's my update. Just kind of, living life. I'll go for a walk every once in a while, try to keep some cardio going. But, still out of shape and still lose breath when I climb steps. So we're going to dive in here. So we're going to start this thing off. I'm going to let you guys pick your own worship songs this week. Hopefully that's something that you guys can do on your own, and something that you guys will... I'm sorry, I was loading my notes. Something that you guys will take away here. So we're in the book of Mark here, and we see a story kind of happen, and it's so almost subliminal to kind of what we're going through now. Mark chapter 4 tells us a story, and I'll give you a second to kind of get there and follow along with me. If you're not using a paperback Bible, I'm just kidding. Please try to follow along while I read. I get, you may be watching this on your phone, and the only Bible you have is on your phone. Please try to at least find a paperback Bible, or look this verse up and highlight it. This verse, this story here, these verses, I should say. Man, they got some good in them. There's some real good, just meaty stuff you can kind of take away here. And so I'm going to read it to you guys. Please don't let this be the only time you hear this. I want you guys to read this and be actively engaged in this as well. So verse 35, Mark chapter 4, says, "On that day, when evening had come, they said to him, 'Let's go across to the other side.' And the crowd behind him, and leaving the crowd behind him, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was." Okay, so I butchered that first opening line. I'm sorry. But it goes on to tell us, other boats were with him. A great windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat, so that the boat was already being swamped, right? So they're traveling across this body of water, and a storm breaks out, right? Like the last thing you want to see when you get to the middle of the ocean, or the middle of, and I don't want to be in the middle of a pool with a storm breaking out. So they're in this boat, and the boat begins to get swamped, right? Like it's taking on water. I'm sure like wooden pieces are kind of coming out. Nails are coming undone. Like the boat's coming unglued. But it goes on to tell us, "But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke him up and said to him, 'Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?' He woke up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, 'Peace, be still.' Then the wind ceased, and there was a dead calm. And he said to them, 'Why are you afraid? Have you still no faith?' And they were filled with great awe and said to one another, 'Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?'" So what we see here is Jesus has a crowd, a mass following him. There, everywhere he went, there was kind of somebody, at least one or two people kind of following him, no matter where he went. And so he has a crowd of people following him. They leave, they go across this body of ocean, or body of water, and a storm breaks out. They're in the midst of chaos, right? Like, anybody say that you're in the midst of chaos right now? Like, you're living in this world, and the whole world is in a midst of chaos. And so what happens is the boat starts taking on some water, right? Like, so humanity, I'm trying to tie this into the virus here, so stay with me. Humanity's taking on water right now, right? We'd say, like, we're getting beat up. We're losing a war right now that we can't really figure out how to stop, other than to stop being with one another. And so, we're as a society, as a nation, as a planet, really, we're taking on water. We're losing. We're starting to lose a battle that we didn't see coming in the horizons, right? But Jesus was still in this time. I wouldn't dare say that Jesus didn't know the storm is coming. I wouldn't dare say that he didn't have this planned out, right? Like, he kind of knew this was going to happen, and he knew that they were going to kind of be fearful and scared. And so my first point here is kind of God is in control. He was in control of this situation. He's been in control since, Genesis 1:1. And he's going to remain in control. Just because we have people in this world that are quote unquote in control, right? They have, a job in politics, or they're a cop, or, they have some type of say in this world, right? Just because we have those people doesn't mean that God's still isn't in control. He is. God is fully in control. Whether these people want to believe it, accept it, he is in control. And that's kind of my first point here. We have that on our church sign right now, partially because I forget to change it, but partially because we want to encourage people. We want people to know that in this time, and I want you guys to know that in this time, that God is in control. As far-fetched as that may seem right now, as wrong as that may seem to some of you guys, it's true. It's true, and it's going to remain true. So remember that. Remember that when you hear about people frantically going to buy toilet paper, or people are sick and they really can't breathe. There's no end in sight. Remember that God's in control. God has a hold of what's going on in this world. It's not an accident. This didn't catch God by surprise. He knows what's going on. My next point is when the world sees chaos, or when we see chaos as humans, as flesh, when we see chaos, God is calm, right? Like, so when the world sees a problem on the horizons, whether it's a world war, whether it's a sickness, kind of like this virus, whether it's something from space, maybe, the world can panic quickly, right? Like, all it takes is one person to tell one story that may or may not happen or be true, and the world's in a panic. I'll give you a perfect example. Every winter, it snows. Go to a ShopRite, right? Like a day before a snowstorm, and people are in a panic. And now we look at things like a snowstorm now, and we laugh at them, kind of like, a snowstorm's easy. Like, you only get stuck in the house for one day. I've been stuck in the house for 2 weeks now, right? And we're looking at another 4 weeks possibly. I don't know. But God is calm in this time, and he was calm in this story as well. He was sleeping, right? Like picture you're on a boat, right? And back then, they didn't have, a cruise liner, right? They had boats that they made, and they were kind of, for lack of a better word, like rinky-dink, I would say. I don't know. I can't picture them having the best wood and the best resources possible back then. But he's asleep in a boat that's taking on water. Like you could picture in your head what that looks like. It's dark. It's probably cold. It's windy. It's loud at this point, right? Like the wind, it's wet, right? Like there's the boat's taking on water. But Jesus is calm because he is in charge, right? Like, this goes back to that God is in control. Like when you're playing a game, or when you're doing something and you have a confidence, you're in charge, you have the skill, you tell everybody, hey, just calm down. I got it. Good athletes will tell their team, hey, everybody, I know we're getting beat, or I know we may have blown a lead or something. Hey, everybody calm down. I got it. I got it. And that's what God tells them in this passage here. And that's what God's telling us now. Everybody, I understand you're tired of sitting in your living room and you've watched so many Netflix shows, but everybody just calm down. I get you guys are up in arms, but I have everything in control, right? I have a purpose for this. I have a plan that's going to come from this. And that's what God's telling us as a nation. Just everybody just calm down and seek me. Everybody just stop what you're doing and pray. Just stop right now and just pray my name out loud. I have it under control. Just trust in me. And so I look at this story, and like I said last week, I am a firm believer that passages of Scripture have way more to take away than kind of people give credit for or people look into. But I look at what God said to the wind, right? To the sea. It says peace. He said peace. Be still, right? Like God's telling us the same thing today. Just to be still and just to have a peace about us. This is all a part of the big plan God has, right? Like, and this is kind of God's way, I think, of saying, hey, it's very easy to get caught up with what's going on and what other people are doing and other churches or youth groups or things like that. But, this is the time to just be calm and be still and have a peace about you, right? Like do some self-reflecting in this time. This time where you don't have to answer to people other than your parents. This time where you don't have to, wake up early to get on the bus or stay after school for tutoring or detention or anything like that, which none of you should be in detention to begin with. But that's a different story for a different day. But be still in this time, right? Like use the words that God spoke to the sea and apply them to your life, right? Like be still. That's what the government wants us to do right now. And I know the government and God are on two different levels, I promise. But, God, I feel as though God is telling the government that we need to be still as a nation to stop the spread of this virus, but to also kind of rebuild ourselves. We're in a world where it could just get so ugly so quick at any given second, really. And people will turn on each other and people will say facetious things to each other. Man, just have a peace and be still about you, right? Like stay in your house, bro. Be still. Have that peace about you. And what'll happen is once you have that, man, like God's really gonna start to hone some things in on you. I feel as though God's trying to speak something to everybody in this universe right now. By making them stay in the house, making them kind of, gather their thoughts and their life together, really, and figure things out. Don't use this time that God's kind of allotted for us. God gave us a reason to dig into Him, right? You have no school. You can't leave the house. You can't do anything. Like, man, spend some time with Jesus today, right? Like, it's what... Use this time. I can't even figure out how to describe it, right? Like, we have all this time in our hand, man. Use it to press into Him, grow in Him, like hear from Him, man. Like God will reveal some stuff to you in this time that you didn't think was even like on your horizons, right? Like you didn't even think that was in your future. But God may have a plan like that what He's trying to reveal to you could be in your near future right now. So press into Him, man. Be still. Listen to what He said to the sea. Like, be still and have a peace about you. And then the last thing I have here is kind of like the ending to the verse and, kind of like my heart's desire. And so, Mark ends this passage of Mark ends with, they were filled with great awe and said to one another, who then is this that even the wind and the sea obey Him? I just think about that, Jesus got up pretty ticked off, right? If the Bible were like modern day, He would have written this in all capitals, right? Like he would have screamed like, peace, be still. but he he didn't do that. He did it with grace. He did it with love. But what happened was when people seen him stop the storm and found that dead calm, they were in awe, man. They were shocked, right? Like picture picture you being there. Picture you being on that boat, right? Like you think you're about to die. You think you're going under. There's no way out. This guy wakes up from a nap, basically snaps his fingers and says a couple of things, and all of a sudden this storm stops, and his power is being shown through all this. Like, you look to whoever you're with and go, whoa, right? Like, wowzers, right? So, Jesus used this time, and it won people over, right? And he's going to do the same thing in this virus here, this time of quarantine. Like, his name is going to be exalted because of what he's going to do with this virus. And by terms of doing this virus, I mean, finding a cure, finding a way for us to not have to live a life like this, right? Like helping us quarantine, kind of, right? Like the miracles and the things that are going to happen from this and this time of kind of confusion and chaos, right? Like God's name is going to be exalted through this. And that's kind of where we come in as a Christian, right? Like, it's easy kind of for us to panic and to get scared. And listen, trust me, I'm somebody that usually doesn't get scared over, things like this. But at one point, man, this thing had me kind of like, get away from me, pal. Like, I don't want to be near you. I don't want this virus. And it's still, it still kind of does, it's still every couple minutes I'll think about it and go, wow, like, the world's really changed because of this. Like, we shut the world down for 4 weeks because of this. Like, there's companies losing money over this. Like, this has never happened before. I was telling, I might have been one of you guys. I can't remember. It might have been somebody else. I've never went to high school or middle school or wherever you guys are, and they went home one day and they said, hey, don't come back for a month. Like, if I was in 6th grade right now, I'd be ecstatic. Like, hey, man, keep that virus around. Like, I want to do school from home and play Xbox when it's over, right? But Jesus won people over from this chaos and this chaotic moment and this near-death experience for some of these people in their heads. And he's going to do the same. But he's only going to do the same if we continue to preach his name. We continue to not have a scaredness to us or a fear. And people are going to ask you, hey, why aren't you scared? What do you not watch the news? Like, why are you not scared? And that's where you have the opportunity to kind of minister with them and tell them, hey, do you have little faith? And kind of walk them through that. And don't do it in a way that says, hey, buddy, if you don't believe in the Lord, right? Do it in a way that's loving and it's caring and it's compassionate. But the same way that Jesus calmed this storm here in Mark 4, he's going to do the same thing in 2020, right? Like, I can't predict the month, but it's going to happen. We look at every major event in this world that's ever happened, and there's always an ending in sight. There's never kind of like an ongoing, World War II is not still happening, right? Like there was an end in sight there. Any major event in this world that's ever happened has come to an end. And this is going to pass too. This will pass. I fully believe it, and I fully, buy into it. But I just kind of wanted to take this time and really reflect on Mark 4 here in verse 35 through 41 again. It's just so good, man. It's so profound. It's something that we needed to hear at this time, right? So I just have a couple small group kind of questions for you, and we're not going to really conduct a small group. These are kind of like maybe for you to think about, write down the answers, share with an accountability partner, maybe that's in the youth group or, at your house or a friend, somebody just, don't let these thoughts kind of go by the wayside. Excuse me, I'm trying to burp. But the first one I have is they asked if he cared for them. They asked Jesus, do you not care that we are perishing? Have you ever felt like that? And listen, my hand's raised, right? Like if we were raising hands, like, man, there's been times where I've left a youth group and and I, in the car, just kind of thinking in my own thoughts, and just kind of, I've been going through something, or, something similar, and I kind of just, I just break out and cry, right? Like, I mean, it's no secret that I cry, we get that, it's funny, whatever. But I broke out in tears just on the way home from youth group, like, God, do you not even care about me? Like I'm serving you, I'm living my life for you, like, do I even exist on your radar, right? And those are real thoughts, man. Like, any pastor, any church figure, any church leader, man, if they tell you they've never felt that, like, they're lying. They're lying for sure. Like, in ministry, in life, it's easy to kind of get caught up and to feel as though, you're kind of a ant on God's radar. And it's the furthest thing from true. Jesus definitely cares about you. Somebody said this to me yesterday, and it was so good. I can't remember where it was. But God didn't bring you all this way to leave you, to abandon you, to forget about you, to let you figure it out on your own, right? Like, he's brought you all this way to continue to work in you. And whoever said that to me yesterday said this as well, that, man, you may not be where you want to be. Everybody in this time, it's real easy to reflect on yourself and kind of figure out, hey, this and that, and I could lose a couple pounds, or I could start reading more, or I start doing this or that. But God didn't bring you all this way to leave you here and forget about you. And that's just, that's just such a good point. But he didn't. You may not be where you want to be, but man, you're better than where you were, right? Like, take a minute and kind of reflect on that. And then the next question I have for you is kind of one that's going to be real personal. And it's going to be one that kind of, I hope, challenges your faith. I hope you kind of press into the next question. And that's going to be, why are you so afraid, right? Like, Jesus, when he calmed the storm and he did all of that, he could have said, okay, I'm going back to sleep, guys, good night. But he didn't. He questioned. He said, why are you so afraid? Have you no faith in me? And in this time of fear, in this time of doubt, in this time of uncertainty, right? The different words you can use, different churchy words you could throw in there. Why are we so afraid? If the author of our life is still in charge, then what are you afraid of? Why are we scared? Why are we running? Why are we panicking? Why are we in this chaos? This quarantine shouldn't be a time of fear. It shouldn't be a time of chaos. It shouldn't be a time of confusion, but it is. It is. And, there's not much we can do about it. You can only tell somebody something so many times, and whether they take it or not, you can tell somebody to not be scared until you're blue in the face, but until they grasp it and buy into it and hold that kind of thought as their own, they're never going to buy into it. But just kind of work on those. Why are you so afraid? I'm going to close it up here, and I kind of hope this was beneficial to you. I'm going to pray in a second and kind of close this thing out, but kind of challenge yourself with that this week. We're gonna get through this. We're definitely gonna get through it. We're definitely gonna move on. Life's gonna go back to normal, whether that means tomorrow or whether that means May or June, July, August. I don't know. But this is gonna end and this is gonna pass, and Jesus has our back. But we're kind of going through that storm right now, and I feel as though if I could equate this the life we're living right now to the story, we're kind of in the spot where Jesus just woke up and said, "Peace, be still." Right? Why are you so afraid? Have you no faith? We're kind of in that point, right? So I feel as though what he's going to do from here on out is going to be the point where we're filled with great awe and say to one another, "Who is this?" Right? Even though we already know who he is. So I'm going to pray for you guys. I hope you guys are doing okay. If there's anything we can do for you as a church, anything I can do for you, a prayer on the phone, anything you're kind of going through, man, keep fighting through school. I know that's kind of a tough one. I'm going to pray for that in a second. But man, just continue to keep hope. Continue to fight the good fight. We're going to get through this. We're gonna win this battle. And God's name's going to be exalted. And soon we're going to be able to congregate again and hang out with one another again. So I'm going to pray, and then you guys are, dismissed, or whatever word you want to use. God, I thank you so much for what you're doing in this church, Lord. I thank you so much for what you're doing in this world, God, as though it seems bleak and dim. Lord, I pray that you would just, you would model these verses to us, God, Lord, that you would show us in this time of doubt, Lord, the same things that Jesus did in Mark 4, Lord. Lord, I pray that you would just be with us, God. I pray for school for everybody. Lord, the online school is tough. I get it. Lord, I pray that you help us adapt. I pray that you help us be faithful, Lord, to what you've called us to do, Lord, in school. God, I pray that, Lord, we could just continue to preach your name in this time of doubt and scariness, Lord. Lord, I love you, I praise you, and I thank you. I pray that you be with everybody watching this video and everybody that's not, Lord. Lord, we love you. In Jesus' name, amen. You guys are dismissed. I hope you enjoyed it. Shoot me some feedback. Send this to somebody. It's yours to do whatever you like. Bye, guys.